No one in the courtroom noticed the scar on Alice's side, but it was there, hidden beneath her neatly pressed cream-colored dress, running like a quiet reminder of a promise once made in love. The room was filled with murmurs, low whispers, and the soft shuffling of legal papers, yet Alice sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the wooden judge's bench. She had learned silence well over the past year. Silence in hospital rooms. Silence in her marriage. Silence in the face of abandonment. Across the aisle sat Daniel, her husband of 7 years, the man whose life now beat steadily because of her. He looked healthier than he ever had. Fuller face, steady posture, clean-shaven jaw, confidence returning to his shoulders. Ironically, it was the healthiest version of Daniel that had decided he no longer needed her. No one in the room knew how this story truly began. It didn't start in court. It didn't start with divorce papers. It started with a diagnosis. One rainy evening, a year and a half ago, Alice sat in a hospital corridor gripping a plastic cup of untouched coffee. The smell of disinfectant mixed with fear hung thick in the air. Doctors had taken Daniel in for what they said would be routine tests. Routine had turned into panic when a senior consultant asked to see her alone. "Mrs. Carter," the doctor said gently, adjusting his glasses, "your husband's kidneys are failing, rapidly." The words didn't register at first. Failing. Kidneys. Daniel was only 34. What do you mean?" Alice whispered. "He'll need dialysis immediately, and eventually a transplant." Alice's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Eventually means when? The doctor hesitated. Months, not years. That night, Alice sat beside Daniel's hospital bed, watching the rise and fall of his chest. Machines beeped softly, keeping rhythm with her fear. When he woke, pale and exhausted, he tried to smile. "Hey," he croaked, "why do you look like someone stole your sunshine?" She broke. Tears fell freely as she grabbed his hand. "They said you're sick, really sick." Daniel closed his eyes, swallowing hard. "I figured." She didn't know it then, but that moment was the last time they would truly face fear together. Doctors searched for donors. Family members were tested. Friends offered sympathy but avoided commitment. One by one, hope fell away. Alice didn't wait for results. "I want to be tested," she told the nurse. "Are you sure?" the nurse asked. "This is major surgery." Alice nodded without hesitation. "He's my husband." When compatibility results came back positive, Daniel cried, for the first time in their marriage. He held her hand and promised things in broken sentences. "I'll never forget this. I owe you my life. I'll love you forever." Alice believed every word. The day of the transplant arrived cold and gray. Alice lay on one operating table, Daniel on another, separated by a wall and fate. As anesthesia crept through her veins, Alice's last thought wasn't fear, it was relief. He will live. Hours later, Daniel woke up with a functioning kidney. Alice woke up with pain that tore through her body like fire, and a smile on her face. She had saved him. Recovery was slow. Alice struggled to walk, to sleep, to feel normal again. Daniel recovered faster, too fast. At first, he was attentive, grateful, kind. Then life resumed. Daniel went back to work. He laughed more, stayed out later. His phone became private. Gratitude turned into discomfort, love into obligation. Alice noticed the shift in small ways. He stopped holding her hand. He avoided conversations. He sighed when she mentioned her pain. One night, she finally asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Daniel didn't look at her. "You're just different now." Different. After everything she had given, the envelope arrived quietly. No argument, no warning. "I think we both need freedom," Daniel said calmly. Alice stared at him, her hand unconsciously resting on the scar beneath her clothes. "You needed me when you were dying," she said softly. "Now you don't." Daniel said nothing. Silence had become his answer, and now here they were. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The case was about to be heard, but this was no ordinary divorce. It was about love given without condition. and gratitude that expired with survival. Before hospitals, before scars, before the word kidney ever entered their lives, Alice and Daniel were the kind of couple people quietly admired. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. The kind of love that grew in small moments rather than grand gestures. They met in a bookstore on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Alice was standing on a stool, reaching for a book on the top shelf when she lost her balance. Before she could fall, a pair of strong hands caught her by the waist. "Easy," a stranger laughed. "Books are dangerous at this height." She turned, embarrassed, and met Daniel's eyes for the first time, warm, curious kind. "That's ironic," she smiled. "I always thought people were." They talked for hours that day, about novels, about life, about how both of them felt like outsiders in loud worlds. Daniel worked in finance, structured and logical. Alice was a wellness consultant, gentle and intuitive. They balanced each other in ways neither fully understood at first. They married 2 years later. Their apartment wasn't big, but it was full of laughter. Alice cooked, Daniel washed dishes. They watched old movies, argued playfully about music, dreamed about future trips they would someday take. Daniel used to say, "You're my safe place." Alice believed that meant forever. The illness didn't arrive suddenly. It crept in quietly. Daniel began coming home tired, then exhausted. He lost weight. His skin turned pale. Alice noticed how he winced when standing too long, how he brushed off pain with jokes. "It's just stress," he said. But Alice knew better. She always did. She scheduled the doctor's appointment herself. Daniel resisted at first. "You worry too much." She smiled softly. "That's my job, I love you." That word, love, used to mean something solid between them. After the diagnosis, time changed. Days were measured in test results, nights in fear. Alice slept lightly, waking at every sound, checking if Daniel was breathing normally. Daniel grew quiet, withdrawn. Fear turned him inward. Alice tried to be strong for both of them. She learned medical terms. She asked questions. She researched diets, treatments, transplant options. She held Daniel during dialysis sessions, pretending not to see the way he stared at the wall like someone already halfway gone. One night, he whispered, "What if I don't make it?" Alice pressed her forehead to his. "Then I'll fight the world itself to keep you here." She meant it. When doctors explained the transplant process, Alice already knew the answer. "I'm your wife," she said simply. "Of course it's me." Daniel argued, "I can't let you." "You're not letting me," she interrupted gently. "I'm choosing you." That night, he cried into her shoulder. "I don't deserve you," he said. She kissed his hair. Love isn't about deserving. The surgery left Alice weaker than she expected. Pain followed her everywhere, sharp when she moved, dull when she rested. Some days, she struggled just to breathe normally. Daniel recovered faster. Too fast. While Alice was still healing, Daniel returned to work. His colleagues praised his strength. Friends celebrated his recovery. Life applauded him. No one asked how Alice was doing. Gratitude slowly turned into guilt. And guilt turned into avoidance. Daniel stopped talking about the transplant. He avoided looking at Alice's scar. He hated being reminded of what she had done, because it meant admitting a debt he didn't know how to repay. Alice felt it in the space between them. Conversations shortened. Touch disappeared. He flinched when she mentioned her pain. One night she asked quietly, "Do you regret it?" He snapped, "Why do you keep bringing it up?" She went silent. Silence became her language. The night Daniel told her he wanted a divorce wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No tears from him. "I think we've changed," he said, staring at the wall. Alice's voice barely worked. Changed or healed? He didn't answer. That was when she realized the truth. She had saved his life. But in doing so, she had lost her place in it. The judge listened as lawyers spoke of irreconcilable differences, of personal freedom, of legal rights. But Alice's lawyer stood and said something that made the room shift. My client donated an organ to her husband. She carries permanent medical consequences. This divorce cannot be treated as ordinary. Daniel's lawyer objected. The law does not recognize emotional debt. The judge raised his hand. I recognize humanity, he said calmly. Daniel finally looked at Alice then. For the first time in a year, their eyes met. And something in Daniel cracked. Daniel had not planned to look at Alice. He had trained himself not to, for months. In their apartment, in the hospital corridors, in the mirror where guilt stared back at him wearing her face. Avoidance had become his survival technique, because if he looked too long, he would have to remember who he had been before she saved him, and who he had become after. But in that courtroom, when the judge paused and said, I recognize humanity, something inside Daniel fractured. Alice hadn't moved. She sat straight, composed, her hands folded neatly in her lap. No tears, no anger, just a quiet dignity that made the room uncomfortable. Her calm was louder than shouting. Daniel remembered her like this once, years ago, when she stood beside his hospital bed, pale but smiling, telling him everything would be fine even though her own surgery was scheduled just hours later. He swallowed hard. Daniel had survived. That was the problem. Survival had given him distance from death, and distance had erased gratitude. What once felt miraculous now felt inconvenient. The scar on Alice's body reminded him daily of weakness, his weakness, and instead of honoring it, he resented it. He never told anyone this. Not his friends. Not his lawyer. Not even himself. But the truth was ugly and simple. He wanted a life where he wasn't someone's responsibility. He wanted to forget the version of himself who needed saving. And Alice was living proof that he once did. Alice's lawyer stood again. Your Honor, she said calmly, my client is not here asking for love, revenge, or ownership over anyone's body. She is here asking that her sacrifice not be erased. A murmur passed through the courtroom. Daniel's lawyer leaned in and whispered, This is turning emotional. The judge replied without looking at him, Some cases are. Then the judge turned to Alice. Mrs. Carter, he said gently, do you wish to address the court? Alice stood. For the first time, her voice carried. I didn't come here to accuse, she said softly. I loved my husband. I still wish him a good life. I just don't want my pain to be invisible. She paused, placing a hand unconsciously on her side. I wake up every day with reminders of what I gave. I will live with them forever. I don't regret saving him. I regret being forgotten. The room was silent. Even Daniel's lawyer looked down. Daniel Breks. Your Honor, Daniel suddenly said, standing without permission. His lawyer grabbed his sleeve. Sit down. Daniel shook him off. I need to say something. The judge studied him for a moment, then nodded. Proceed. Daniel's voice cracked. She's right, he said, staring straight ahead. I survived, and I ran from the person who made that possible, not because she hurt me, but because I didn't know how to live with what I owed. Alice closed her eyes. Not in relief. In release, the judge leaned forward, his voice steady but heavy with meaning. Mr. Carter, he said, the law cannot force love. It cannot order gratitude. It cannot keep a marriage alive when one heart has already left. Daniel's chest tightened. But, the judge continued, the law can recognize sacrifice. He turned to the courtroom. This woman gave an irreplaceable part of herself so another human being could live. That gift does not expire with marriage. Then he delivered the ruling. I grant the divorce, the judge said. Daniel exhaled too quickly. But, the judge added, raising a finger, this court orders the following. The room froze. Mr. Carter will be financially responsible for all future medical care related to Mrs. Carter's donation, lifelong. Daniel stiffened. A trust will be established in Mrs. Carter's name, funded by Mr. Carter, to ensure her long-term health, security, and dignity. Gasps filled the room. This is not punishment, the judge concluded. This is acknowledgement. He looked directly at Daniel. You were given life. She will not be left paying for it alone. Gavel down. Case closed. After the courtroom, Alice walked out alone. Not broken. Not bitter. Just free. Daniel watched her go. For the first time since surviving, he felt the weight of living. Cherry Blossom Epilogue. What she gained by letting Months later, Alice stood in a quiet park, sunlight warming her face. Her body was still healing. Some days were hard, some nights painful. But she was no longer invisible. She had learned a truth no one teaches. Saving someone does not guarantee they will stay. But losing them does not mean you lost yourself. Alice smiled softly, breathing deeply, carrying forward. Not what she gave away, but what she finally reclaimed. Her worth